Welcome back to WNBA Hoops TV. Today, we're diving into a story that has basketball fans talking everywhere. Because the battle for attention, popularity, and influence in women's basketball has entered a fascinating new chapter. Two of the biggest young stars in the WNBA. Two different journeys. Two completely different brands. And one conversation that has exploded beyond the basketball court. Why did Caitlin Clark's Nike shoe launch become a massive success? While Angel Reese's signature shoe journey faced a very different reaction from fans. The world of sports has always been about more than what happens during games. Great athletes don't just compete for championships. They build identities. They create movements. They inspire fans. And in today's era of social media, an athlete's impact can be measured in many ways, from statistics on the court to the connection they create with millions of people around the world. That is why shoe deals have become such an important part of modern sports. A signature shoe isn't just a product. It is a statement. It represents a player's influence, their style, their story, and the community that supports them. For decades, the biggest names in basketball have used footwear to build lasting legacies. Michael Jordan changed the sneaker world forever. LeBron James created one of the most recognizable basketball shoe lines in history. Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, and other icons showed that athletes could become global brands beyond their sport. Now, women's basketball is entering a new era where its stars are becoming powerful commercial figures in their own right. And at the center of that conversation are Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But before the headlines and social media debates, there is a much bigger story. A story about two athletes who took completely different paths to becoming household names. A story about competition, business, and the changing landscape of women's sports. Because the truth is not simply about one shoe selling and another struggling. The real story is about how two players became symbols of a basketball revolution. Caitlin Clark's rise has been unlike anything the WNBA has experienced before. Before she ever entered the professional league, she had already built one of the largest fan followings in women's college basketball history. At Iowa, Clark became known for her incredible shooting range, elite passing ability, and fearless approach during high-pressure moments. She wasn't just putting up numbers. She was creating moments. Deep three-pointers from distances that seemed impossible. Unbelievable passes through crowded defenses. Performances that attracted millions of viewers. By the time she entered the WNBA, expectations were enormous. Every game became an event. Every highlight spread across social media. Every major brand was watching. Nike recognized that impact and partnered with Clark in a landmark deal that reflected her growing influence. The relationship represented more than basketball. It represented the changing business landscape of women's sports. Companies were beginning to recognize that female athletes could drive culture, create demand, and connect with audiences in powerful ways. And when Clark's signature shoe arrived, excitement followed quickly. Fans wanted to be part of the moment. For many supporters, buying the shoe wasn't only about footwear. It was about supporting a player they believed represented the future of basketball. It was about being part of a movement. But across the basketball world, another star was creating her own path. Angel Reese's journey looked very different. Known for her dominance, confidence, and competitive personality, Reese became one of the most recognizable players in college basketball during her time at LSU. Her national championship run helped turn her into a major sports figure. Her style, personality, and ability to connect with fans made her one of the most marketable athletes in the game. When she entered the WNBA, she brought a massive following with her. Fans admired her toughness. They admired her confidence. And they admired the way she embraced who she was both on and off the court. Like Clark, Reese represented something bigger than basketball. She represented a new generation of athletes who understood that their influence extended beyond the game. So when discussions about shoes and brand power began, it naturally created comparisons. Who had the bigger impact? Whose fans were more loyal? Which athlete could turn popularity into commercial success? But those questions are much more complicated than a simple comparison. Because sneaker success depends on many factors. Timing, marketing strategy, brand partnerships, production numbers, distribution, fan demographics, and the overall connection between athlete and audience. A shoe selling out does not tell the entire story. A product being available longer does not automatically mean failure. The business behind sports merchandise is far more complex than social media debates often suggest. Yet, the conversation continued growing. Fans began comparing sales. Posts went viral. Opinions became divided. Some saw Caitlin Clark's success as proof of her unmatched popularity. Others argued that Angel Reese's influence should be measured differently. And somewhere in the middle was a bigger question. Are we watching a rivalry between two athletes? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a new business era for women's basketball? Because this story is about much more than sneakers. It is about how athletes today are building brands while still building their careers. It is about how the WNBA has reached a level of attention where every business decision becomes a major conversation. And it is about two young stars who are helping push the sport into places it has never been before. But to understand why this sneaker battle became such a massive topic, we have to go back to the moment when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese became two of the most talked about names in basketball. The story of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese was never created by sneakers. The sneakers came later. The Real Foundation was built through years of competition, unforgettable performances, and two athletes who captured the attention of an entire generation of basketball fans. Long before their names were connected to shoe sales, they represented two different styles of greatness. Caitlin Clark became known for creativity. Her ability to control a game with her shooting, passing, and basketball vision made her one of the most exciting offensive players the sport had ever seen. Angel Reese built her reputation through power, confidence, rebounding, and an undeniable competitive edge. Their paths crossed during one of the most watched moments in women's college basketball history. The national championship matchup between Iowa and LSU became more than a basketball game. It became a cultural moment. Millions of fans watched. New viewers discovered women's basketball. And both players became symbols of a sport entering a completely different era. That attention followed them into the professional world. But it also created something else. Constant comparison. Every achievement was measured against the other. Every headline created another debate. Every brand announcement became another opportunity for fans to argue about influence. And that is where the sneaker conversation became so intense. Because in today's sports world, shoes are not simply products. They are extensions of an athlete's identity. A successful signature shoe can represent a powerful connection between a player and her supporters. Can show that fans don't just watch the athlete. They identify with the athlete. For Caitlin Clark, that connection developed over years. Her fans followed her from Iowa arenas to WNBA stadiums. Many had watched her journey from college records to professional challenges. When her Nike partnership became official, it represented the continuation of a relationship that had already been built. The excitement around her shoe reflected more than a product launch. It reflected the emotional investment of a fan base that had grown alongside her. Fans wanted to own a piece of the story. They wanted something connected to the player who had changed the way many people viewed women's basketball. That emotional connection is one of the most powerful forces in sports marketing. But Angel Reese's story demonstrated a different kind of influence. Reese built her brand around confidence, personality, and authenticity. She connected with fans who admired her fearlessness. She embraced her individuality. She became known not only for what she did during games, but for the way she carried herself outside the court. That type of influence has tremendous value, because modern athletes are no longer judged only by statistics. They are also judged by cultural impact. How many people follow them? How strongly do fans connect with them? How effectively can they represent a brand? Those questions have become increasingly important in women's sports. And this is where the conversation becomes more complicated than one shoe sold out and another didn't. A product's performance depends on many elements behind the scenes. How many pairs were produced? How widely was it distributed? What markets was it available in? How heavily was it promoted? Was the goal immediate sellout numbers or long-term brand growth? These factors often determine success just as much as an athlete's popularity. However, online conversations usually focus on the simplest measurement. Sold out equals success. Still available equals failure. But the business world does not always work that way. A limited release can sell quickly because fewer units are available. A larger release may take longer because more fans have access to purchase. Neither situation alone tells the complete story. Yet the debate continued because the players involved were not ordinary athletes. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese had become two of the faces of the WNBA's growth. Every move they made attracted attention. Every accomplishment created discussion. Every challenge became a storyline. For some fans, the comparison represented a rivalry. For others, it represented something much bigger. They saw two young stars proving that women's basketball could create the same excitement, loyalty, and commercial power as other major sports. And that may be the most important part of this entire conversation. For years, women's athletes fought for greater recognition. They fought for better coverage. They fought for investment. Now, players like Clark and Reese are showing what happens when that investment arrives. The demand is there. The audience is there. The passion is there. The sneaker conversation itself became evidence of that growth. People were debating women's basketball shoes because people cared. They were paying attention. They were invested in the players. They were following their stories beyond game day. That represents a major shift. But with growth comes pressure. Every successful athlete faces criticism. Every popular player faces comparisons. Every brand decision becomes analyzed by millions of people. For Clark, the challenge is managing the expectations that come with being one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. For Reese, the challenge is continuing to build her own legacy while constantly being compared to another superstar. Neither path is easy, but both players have shown the ability to handle attention at a level few athletes experience. And as the WNBA continues expanding, their journeys may become examples of how modern athletes build influence in different ways. Because the future of women's basketball will not be defined by one player. It will be defined by the collection of stars who bring different personalities, playing styles, and fan communities into the spotlight. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are part of that movement. Their shoe stories are only one chapter. The bigger story is about the business of basketball changing right in front of everyone. But the biggest question still remains, as these two young stars continue building their brands, who will ultimately have the greater long-term impact? Will it be measured by sales, championships, cultural influence, or something that cannot be counted at all? Because the next chapter of this story may reveal that the true competition was never between two pairs of shoes. It was about who could inspire the next generation of basketball fans. In the end, the story of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese was never truly about a pair of shoes. The shoes were simply the latest chapter in a much bigger transformation. A transformation happening across women's basketball. A transformation driven by athletes who are proving that their influence extends far beyond the court. Because when fans debate sneaker sales, they are really debating something deeper. They are debating impact. They are debating connection. They are debating what makes a player become more than just an athlete. And that is why the conversation surrounding Caitlin Clark's Nike shoe and Angel Reese's brand journey became such a powerful moment. It represented a new reality. Women's basketball players are no longer waiting for recognition. They are creating it. For decades, female athletes fought for opportunities that many people now take for granted. They fought for larger audiences. They fought for stronger marketing. They fought for their stories to be told on bigger stages. Now, the next generation is showing what happens when those opportunities finally begin to grow. Caitlin Clark's rise demonstrated the power of connection. Her fans followed her journey from college arenas to the professional stage. They watched the pressure. They watched the challenges. They watched her adapt to the highest level of competition. That emotional investment became one of the strongest forces behind her popularity. People weren't simply buying a shoe. They were supporting a story. They were supporting a player who represented ambition, confidence, and the belief that impossible goals could become reality. But Angel Reese's journey showed something equally important. There is more than one way to build a legacy. Reese connected with fans through personality, confidence, and authenticity. She embraced who she was. She created a brand around individuality. She showed young athletes that success doesn't require following someone else's path. And that may be one of the greatest strengths of this new era. Women's basketball no longer needs one single superstar to carry the entire sport. It can grow because of many different stars, different personalities, different styles, different stories. That diversity is what makes the league stronger. The conversation around sneaker sales sometimes creates the illusion that there must be one winner and one loser. But the reality is much more complicated. A growing sport benefits when multiple athletes create excitement, when multiple players attract new fans, when multiple brands recognize the value of investing in women's basketball. The success of one player does not have to mean failure for another. In fact, the opposite may be true. The popularity of Caitlin Clark can bring more attention to the entire league. The popularity of Angel Reese can introduce different fans to the sport. The rise of other WNBA stars can continue expanding the audience even further. That is how sports grow. Not through one person, through an entire ecosystem. Of course, the comparisons will continue. Fans will continue debating. Analysts will continue discussing statistics, popularity, and business decisions. That is part of sports. Competition creates passion. Passion creates conversation. And conversation creates growth. But the most important thing is remembering what happens behind the headlines. Every shoe launch represents years of work. Every sponsorship represents an athlete proving her value. Every successful product reflects the dedication of players who spent countless hours developing their craft. The spotlight may shine brightest during major moments, but the foundation is built long before that. It is built in practices, in difficult games, in moments when nobody is watching. That is where careers are truly created. And for Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, their stories are still being written. Their rivalry, whether fans view it as competitive or simply symbolic, has already become one of the defining storylines of this era. But their legacies will ultimately be measured by much more than merchandise. They will be measured by how they changed the sport, how many young players they inspired, how many new fans they introduced to women's basketball, how much opportunity they helped create for the athletes who follow them. Because years from now, people may not remember every single sales number. They may not remember every social media debate. But they will remember the moment when women's basketball reached a new level of attention. They will remember the players who helped make that possible. And Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese will undoubtedly be part of that conversation. Their journeys represent two different paths, two different identities, two different ways of connecting with fans. But together, they represent something much bigger. A future where women's basketball stars are recognized not only for what they accomplish during games, but for the communities, cultures, and movements they create around the sport. And perhaps that is the real story behind the shoes. The shoes are temporary. The impact is lasting. Stories like this remind us why basketball is about more than points, statistics, and sales numbers. It is about the athletes who inspire generations, challenge expectations, and help shape the future of the game. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese represent a new era of women's basketball, one filled with passion, personality, competition, and incredible opportunity. Their journeys show that success can look different for every athlete, and every player has the chance to leave a lasting mark. If you enjoyed this documentary, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to WNBA Hoops TV, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the biggest stories in basketball. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think will have the biggest long-term impact on women's basketball? And what do you believe truly defines an athlete's legacy? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next WNBA Hoops TV documentary.